What is the WNBA hiding? The WNBA just cannot get out of their own way. They have been begging for attention. If there has ever been a time for a sports league to seize the moment, it is the WNBA right now. Do you want equal or do you want equal but special treatment? This isn't a startup league. This is a 28-year league. Hey, welcome. It's a Friday, and the city of Indianapolis is still exploding. Last night, if you opened your windows, even though I live about 5 miles from downtown, you could hear it. Boo-ha! Halliburton hits another game winner. We'll get into that in a minute, but the WNBA just cannot get out of their own way. You can't be taken serious as a league if you don't want to have the players questioned, if you don't want to have the players booed, if you don't want fan support. You can't be taken serious if the Seattle whatever the hell are, teams like the Seattle whatever the hell are suing the coach because, well, he swore, or they want to get rid of the coach because he swore. But this is the latest. If there has ever been, and we have said this, a time for a sports league to seize the moment, it is the WNBA right now. They've got the Golden Goose, Caitlin Clark. They actually have a rivalry. They've got people pubbing at ESPN, but they just can't get out of their own way. Why? Due to their own ineptitude and the constantly bending the knee for their woke, crazy-ass, lesbian, sexist, racist players. You would think that a company that is looking to take off would want a media presence to help grow the game, particularly one like OutKick, which, in my opinion, is the fastest-growing media company in America, and it should be. It's not going to stop because people like common sense, and they like reporters like Bobby Barack and our friend Danny Z. The NBA now is refusing to grant OutKick credentials. Danny Z, who's going to join me in a minute, wrote, "It's been nearly 2 weeks since Atlanta Dream forward Brittney Griner fouled out of a game in the WNBA against the Fever, and then was seen on camera shouting something that has been interpreted multiple ways. Some people believe, based on the reading of lips, that she said effing white girl, while others believe she said effing whack call. While no one is certain exactly what was said, there's an easy way to find out. Ask Brittney Griner." Whoa! That doesn't even make it into a Journalism 101 preschool class. That's just common sense. Anyway, no one has done that. Not a single person has said, "Hey, Brittney, what'd you say?" OutKick reached out to the WNBA and to Griner's, quote, management team several times, but hasn't received a single response. Still, Griner has participated in multiple games. Now, remember, this is a league that says we have a zero tolerance policy against hate words, words of hate, racism, sexism, any kind of ism. But yet nothing on Brittney Griner? Whoa, she's played in multiple games. The media has had plenty of access to ask her a question, yet not a single one does. Danny Z and OutKick requested a media credential for the Atlanta Dream game in L.A. against the Sparks May 27th. The Sparks denied our request. Okay? OutKick requested a media credential from that vaunted Atlanta Dream against the Connecticut Sun game on a Friday night. Tonight, actually. They denied the request. The Sun granted several media credentials to OutKick last year, including a playoff game that featured the Fever and Caitlin Clark. So it's unlikely their excuse is anywhere near the truth. No, more than likely, it is that the WNBA doesn't want OutKick at his games. Why? Because we refuse to bend the damn knee to act like a PR firm representing the league and want to ask actual questions. You know, actual reporting, but the WNBA doesn't need that. What is the WNBA hiding? Companies, organizations, and governments that have nothing to hide welcome reporters. We want transparency. Come see what we do. Why wouldn't they? Transparency builds trust. And if there's nothing to hide, there's no reason not to be transparent. Duh. Anyway, maybe the WNBA isn't hiding anything, but denying media access to a major news organization certainly raises doubts about whether they are being fully transparent. No, I disagree with that, Danny Z. I think it confirms doubts that they absolutely aren't being transparent. Danny Z joins us now. Danny, you've asked for credentials to many different events. Have you ever been denied access because you're with OutKick?
No. And you asked it a yes or no question, so.
Yeah, bite me. I did go to journalism school. Well, all right, here's a better one. Ready? Hold on. Why do you think they denied you access?
That's a much better question. Open-ended. What's that guy at
you.
ESPN? Did
Thank
you ever go through that training at ESPN where the interview guy? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, they used to have a guy come in and train people.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
never.
yeah.
No, I'm usually very good at that. They never brought me in for that.
Before we even get into this, I do want to apologize to you, Dan, because I know you wanted to start today's show just talking about the Pacers. Just talking about the Pacers. And here we are talking about the WNBA the day after the Pacers win game 1 of the NBA Finals, and you're talking about the WNBA. And that's my fault. And for that, I do apologize. Look, Dan, there's no question why they're denying us access. They don't want us asking Brittney Griner a simple question. What did you say? What did you say? I can't even find the words that not one media member just simply said, what did you say? That moment is viral. It's been viewed millions of times. People are confused. What did she say? Some people think effing white girl. Some people think effing whack call. Easy way to solve it. Brittney Griner, what did you say?
Well, having said that, why do you think they're not asking Brittney Griner that question?
Well, that's what I wrote, Dan. I mean, there's no so I hate to be so blunt about it, but there's no such thing as a WNBA reporter. The entire WNBA media operates as essentially an extension of the league's PR firm. They want cheerleaders. Like, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for cheerleaders and people who do nothing but promote the league, talk about it in a positive light. See, they all want their cake and they want to eat it too. And what I mean by that is, WNBA players have been crying for years that they don't get as much attention and they don't get paid well enough and all of this. But here's the thing. They don't really want all that comes along with that. They want all the positive stuff that comes along with that, like more money and more publicity. But here's the dirty little secret. With more money and more publicity comes more criticism. And all of a sudden, they're all about the money and the publicity, but the criticism part, that is, oh, no. We don't want that. No. You leave that over there. Give us the good stuff, but you keep your criticism.
Well, I go back to the question that I asked you because you have covered many events, and these leagues, if you're going to be considered, I may be wrong about this, you can tell me I'm wrong, but if you're going to be considered a major league, it seems to me a serious league, you have to do what you're saying. You have to broaden. You have to be able to be more open. You have to build trust. However, let me ask you this. Is there a strategy here by the WNBA? Is this like, you know what, we're going to be different. We're going to protect our players where we can. It would be a different strategy. Do you think that's an actual strategy that they have?
That's a good question. I mean, we could ask them. Oh, wait, they won't talk to us, so we'll never find out. Yeah, I mean, I do think that's what they're doing. I think the goal is to protect the players, which raises another interesting question, though. You mentioned it earlier about all the racism and the sexism. Well, WNBA, why do you think that these black women need protecting? Are they not capable of protecting themselves? Boy, that sounds kind of racist and sexist if you look at it that way. How come other leagues don't do this? Men don't need to be protected from the big bad media, big bad reporters asking big bad questions. Are you saying that the women of the WNBA are incapable of answering tough questions? Well, I mean, the implication there is pretty clear, Dan, no?
I think it is. It's like, I always say this to people, do you want equal or do you want equal but special treatment? And it feels like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, they want equal but special treatment. That's right, right? That's the way this is.
100% right. Yeah, that's 100% correct. That's what I'm saying. Like they want all of the good stuff that comes with more attention, except the criticism part. That part, and look, they have plenty of useful idiots in the media who are happy to play along. Go watch the segment with Monica McNutt after the alleged racial slurs were hurled at Angel Reese that never happened. I mean, immediately jump into defense. Like that's what the WNBA wants. We make one claim that something that didn't happen happened, and immediately they all start piling up. But yet this Brittney Griner thing, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but has Monica McNutt said anything about Brittney Griner and what she said? Has she even speculated about what she might have said? Was it a segment on First Take? Did Stephen A. Smith take up for his sisters in the WNBA and talk about? I don't think it was mentioned.
All right, let me go to the other side. Have you or us here at OutKick been unfair? If you're the WNBA, I always try to think of the other side. Have we here at OutKick, you in particular, because you're the one that asked for the, have you been unfair in your opinion in any way? Could they have viewed you as unfair in any way in anything you've reported?
I mean, of course they could. I mean, it depends how you look at the word unfair. I mean, I've reported the facts about
from their perspective.
I mean, I've reported the facts about Angel Reese's shooting percentage from inside 5 feet. Is that unfair? Should I have not pointed out that she shoots 32% from within 5 feet of the basket? What do you think, Dan? Is that unfair? Is that unfair to say out loud that Angel Reese shoots 32% from inside 5 feet?
I seem to think that is a fact that should be reported on when judging a player. How's that answer?
That's how I feel, too. I mean, look, of course they think our coverage is too negative. I mean, that's why they don't want us there. They think our coverage of the WNBA is too negative, and they're used to having nothing but positive coverage. Again, this is all new. I mean, every other league has gone through this. You think the NFL didn't think it was unfair when Deflategate was being talked about or when concussion? I mean, hell, the NFL punished ESPN for reporting on concussions about 10 years ago. They've been repairing that relationship for a decade because of that. I mean, they didn't completely restrict ESPN, but look, leagues are like anything else, right? Like they don't have to grant us a credential. I want to be clear about that. They are not required to. We asked them for a credential and they have the opportunity to say yes or no. They are saying no. Yes, they think we are too negative on their league. But look, there are a lot of things in the WNBA that need to be criticized, right? If they were doing, I think they're doing more harm than good for their own sake that we're covering it as it should be covered. We're just the only outlet doing that.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing. This isn't a startup league. Like, this is a 28-year league that hasn't made money. And I'm going to go back to your original point. They have been begging for attention. Last year, when everybody was all over the women of the WNBA, all over Caitlin Clark, it was all about the women that came before us. You didn't pay attention to us. Well, Danny, and I don't know the history here, so I'm going to ask you, is there any history of the WNBA denying other media outlets access? Do you know?
Don't know, because how many media outlets were asking for access 5 years ago?
That's a great point.
I mean, honestly, if you tried to use that excuse that like, oh, we're just a little too full tonight, man, that Sparks Dream matchup is really that. We circled this one on our calendar. We might hit 150,000 viewers on TV this week. Like, this is going to be a big one. No, I doubt they've denied access because they're growing but they only want to grow in the way. I mean, they've said it. Their players have said, like, we don't want these new racist fans. Like, if you're a racist, like, we don't want you, which, I mean, you know, the whole racist thing, whatever. But they've basically said we only want certain types of fans. I mean, they've said it. And OutKick's audience apparently falls under the group of fans they don't want.
Apparently. I guess. Hey, I do want to get into that racism thing. Senator Jim Banks came on my show and said, they owe us an apology. And I've said it very loudly that the WNBA, Angel Reese, the Sky, and the Fever owe their fans an apology. You agree with that? Yeah,
I absolutely agree with that. I mean, they again, back to the aforementioned Monica McNutt and Stephen A. Smith on ESPN's biggest programming. Those clips went viral of those two bashing Indiana fans. There's a whole Indiana fans Twitter thing going on. I don't know if you've ever dived into that rabbit hole about how every Caitlin Clark fan is a racist and they only like Clark because she's white and blah, 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 blah. All that. I mean, yes. And that's why people jumped on it. They wanted to believe it was true, Dan. They wanted so badly for this to be true. And then when it was, then it was like, crap. Well, it doesn't. This is the ultimate, yeah, but still. Like, yeah, okay, maybe that time they weren't racist, but they're racist every other time. So, like, what does it really matter?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. What was the reason, the official reason that they did not allow you in?
It was very limited space, and they had to give priority to people who have covered the Connecticut Sun regularly.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All three of them.
Yeah, well. Yeah, I mean, it's a big throng. Connecticut is, again, I'm going to think like them. Connecticut is a hotbed of women basketball, and who doesn't want to see a Friday night game? I assume it was in that casino there. Who doesn't want to see
it? It is in the casino. And I do want to point out, there's a reason I put this in my story, Dan. They did credential me several times last year, including for a playoff game against the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark. So they had room for an extra reporter for a playoff game, including Caitlin Clark. But they don't have room tonight for a regular season game against the Atlanta Dream.
It's just an unserious league. It's just an unserious group of people in an unserious league that will continue to wallow in its own shit. They got a little bump from Caitlin Clark, and they have no idea, the leadership, how to handle it. All right, Danny, it's also been a month since OutKick first reported on a youth transgender athlete study allegedly funded by Nike. In addition, Nike won't talk to you. They won't comment on the record. And one other important figure, Dr. Catherine Ackerman, the lead researcher, she's shutting up. I think you attempted to reach Ackerman via email a dozen times but never received a response. One of her employees promoted the study. We get kicked out of there too?
I think it's my hair, Dan. I really maybe it's my hair. I think I need to do something different with my hair that makes people not want me to be wherever I want to be. So I went up to like I said, you read it from my story. I tried to reach Ackerman over a dozen times via email through many different channels, through her different employers. She works for Boston Children's Hospital. She's a professor at Harvard. I tried everything, could not get a response. So we made the decision. She holds a biannual conference called the Female Athlete Conference every 2 years. This one was being held in Boston. No, she's going to be there. She's hosting a 3-day conference. All right, well, we're going to go up there. We're going to ask her to her face why she will not talk to us or tell us about this study. So I went up there I went up there on Tuesday, and then I popped over to the hotel early Wednesday morning, right before she was about to go on stage. Now, I did feel a little bit bad. She does work really hard to put on this conference, and she had to go up and give the opening keynote speech, and she was preparing for that. But look, if you're going to ignore me for a month, I got to take drastic measures. So I found her on her computer, sitting there, working on her little speech for the morning. And I said, Dr. Ackerman, I'm a reporter. And she said, oh, hi, reporter. And I said, I'd like to ask you a few questions. She said, I'm a little busy right now. I said, okay, is there a time I can come back that would be better? And she goes, what's your name? I said, my name's Dan. Did not give her my last name. I just said, my name's Dan. She goes, oh, Dan, I've heard of you, Dan. And I know what you're here to talk about. And I said, okay, well, would you like to talk about it? And she said, I'd rather not. I said, okay, well, I understand you're busy, but could I come back at a different time? And she said, I really don't want to talk about that. And I said, well, Dr. Ackerman, Nike has essentially called you a liar. They're saying this study doesn't exist, but that doesn't make any sense to me. You've been talking about this for 2 years. I find it hard to believe that you've just been making up that this study exists and that Nike's been funding it for 2 years. That seems strange. And she said, I am sorry, but we're at a female athlete conference and we are not having this interview right now. So I thanked her and I left. Now, that's not the end of the story.
Thank you.
I thanked her. Oh, do you want to add something? Go ahead.
No, I want to say, were you surprised by that? Like, were you shocked by that reaction, though?
No, I mean, if she wanted to talk to me, she could have. She has a dozen emails she could have responded to. But look,
Right.
you have to. Sometimes you have to go and ask people questions.
Yeah.
I needed to get a response. Now, her response was not nearly as telling as the one I got later in the day. So I decided, look, I got to respect her. She's about to start this conference. There's hundreds of people here for this thing. I left. I went back to my own hotel. I worked a normal day on my computer, doing research, whatever. And I thought, okay, I'm going to come back when the day is done, when all the presentations have concluded, when they're just kind of unwinding, that would be a better time to talk to Dr. Ackerman. Maybe she won't be as stressed. Maybe she'll be willing to talk once she's passed a long first day of this conference that she's worked so hard to put on. So I go back around 5:00 as things are wrapping up, and they're having like a little bit of a meet and greet type of thing. They got food, there's drinks going, it's kind of a fun, end of the day wrap up to a conference. And I'm looking for Dr. Ackerman. Instead, I run into Joanna Harper, who is a male who identifies as female, who is a PhD and is the second lead researcher on this study. Now, Harper is the one who told the New York Times that Nike was funding the study that started all of this. That's what OutKick picked up on. That's what I saw in that story. And I went, hey, what the heck is this? So I finally got to see Joanna Harper, the person who said to the New York Times, Nike is funding the study. And I said, are you Joanna Harper? Harper said, yes, I am. And I said, can I ask you a few questions about the Nike transgender study? Dan, it's going to be really hard to explain this interaction. It was one of the most bizarre interactions I've ever had in my entire life. A strange smile came over Harper's face. And Harper just stared at me for 8 seconds and with a weird smile. And I just was waiting for an answer. And I asked him, I did the wrong thing, Dan. I asked a yes or no question. Can I talk to you about this study? And that's when Harper finally said, I'm not supposed to talk about that. And I said, you're not supposed to talk about it? Is there a reason you're not supposed to talk about it? And Harper responded, yes, there's a reason I'm not supposed to talk about it. And I said, okay, well, can you tell me what the reason you're not supposed to talk about it is? No. Okay. Is there anything you can tell me about the study? I'm really not supposed to talk about that. I said, okay, thank you for your time. And I walked away. I went and found a seat because I'm still looking for Ackerman. I still wanted to talk to Ackerman one more time. I drove all the way to Boston. I actually wanted to apologize to her, to be honest with you, and say, hey, I'm sorry for bothering you right before you started this conference. I feel bad, but if you want to talk to me, here's my name, here's my number. Let's talk next week, whenever you can, whatever. Well, I didn't get that chance, Dan, because I was sitting in a chair, minding my own business, literally watching the French Open on my phone while I was looking for Ackerman, killing the time. And two people came up to me, a little woman and a larger male. And the woman says, hi, sir. I'm the security manager here at the Seaport Hotel. We're going to have to ask you to leave, and we're going to need to escort you out. And I was like, I'm sorry? She was like, yeah, unfortunately, I'm just doing my job, but I have to escort you off the premises. I said, okay. All right, here we go. I'm being escorted off the premises by security for the first time since I was 24 in a bar. And I can tell you, Dan, that time I was not for asking too many questions. That is not why I got kicked out of the bar 11 years ago. But this time, apparently, it was for asking one too many questions.
And nobody, that's it. I mean, they just went about their business having their, is this study still going on? Is this thing still going on?
Dan, I don't know. No one will tell us. I forgot to mention, I did ask Harper that. That was one of my questions to Harper. Is the study still ongoing? I cannot talk about that, was the response. Someone told them not to talk. See, now so that's the question. Not supposed to talk about it implies someone told you not to talk about it. Now, who told you not to talk about it? Was it Nike? Because that seems the most likely culprit here, because Ackerman is the lead researcher on the study. So who would have told Ackerman, the person leading the study, not to talk about it? Herself? That seems unlikely.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, this is deep state stuff. I'm not supposed to talk about it, right? This is backroom. This is, wow. What a week. What a week for you. What are you going to do next week? Get kicked out of Yankee Stadium? You're going to get the boot from the NBA Finals? What are you going to do? What are you going to do for an encore here?
That would require me to be at the NBA Finals. But look, Dan, let me get out of your way. I know you want to talk about the Pacers. I've taken up 25 minutes of your time. Let's go. Get me out of here. Get your Pacers talk going. Run your victory laps. Go get your Pacers jersey. I know you want to.
No, I wanted to. I mean, that's where, OutKick. We give you what others don't. And you gave them what others didn't want, apparently. You're like, hey, all right, brother, appreciate you. Go Pacers. Let's talk next week. We'll do shot clock violation, and we'll see where we should do a segment. Where has Danny Z been kicked out of, removed from, or not credentialed to? We'll do it that way.
Thanks, Dan.
See you, brother. Oh, man. Hey, I don't know what to tell you. I honestly don't. That's unbelievable. Like, the WNBA, they're mad at me because I've been ripping the women that are running the Indiana Fever in support of a bunch of people. It's snowballed. Used to be two people that I knew that were season ticket holders that sat in that area and were pissed because nobody's apologizing and they're viewed as racist. Now it's about 10 people have reached out to me and like, Dan, keep doing what you're doing. Because as Danny Z said, in Indiana, those crowds that come to see Caitlin Clark are like little girls and their dads and their moms. It's unbelievable. It's not like a hardcore Boston Celtics, Boston Garden thing. And people are tired of being called racist here in Indiana. So the WNBA once again F's it up. Hey, while you're here, make sure you head on over to youtube.com/@outkick.com/videos to like, comment, and subscribe. That way you'll never miss great content.